Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video of Synergy Music Lessons. I'm your host Josh, and today we're going to be looking at Pyrenese Melody from the List A section of the RCM 1 piano repertoire books. Let's get started. Alright guys, let's break this down. So first we'll take a look at the hand movements in this piece. After that we'll take a look at some basic harmonic analysis. Alright, so first thing that we'll look at here is this hand movement in bar 2. So if we start this piece with your hand in the correct position, we should have 5 on E, and then 3 should naturally play this E over here. Looking at this next chord over here, you can see that we're already moving our hand. So to help with this hand movement, we kind of want to find an anchor point. Now we don't have any common fingers, but if your hand is resting in a natural position, we should have a thumb on this ghost note A here. If you follow this A over here to the next chord, we do have an A there, and this will be played by finger 4. To help you with this hand position switch, we can kind of anchor the finger 1 and substitute 4 on that note. When you're performing this, it's kind of restrictive to play it by handing off your finger like this. So once you get used to that, try doing a quick shift. Once you practice that and get used to the quick shift, you should be able to play everything up to bar 4 because your hand relatively stays in one position. Next thing we're going to look at here is this big chord here in the left hand. This here stretches over the span of a full octave, and we only have 5 fingers or 8 notes within an octave, so we're going to have to do some stretching. The finger numbers that we'll want to use here are 5, 3, 2, and 1. You could use a 4 instead of a 3, but it's up to you, whatever feels more comfortable. So there's 2 ways that we can approach this. We can either have your hand over the octave kind of stretched apart with your fingers in place on each of these notes. The other alternative is we can also glide your fingers along if you can't really reach the full octave comfortably. Next, we're going to take a look at bar 6 for your right hand. Very much like bar 2, we're going to have another hand movement with an anchor point. Except in this situation, we have finger 1 already on our last note, and there's no more fingers to anchor to the next position. So rather than an anchor point, we can have a crossover here. And what we're going to do is we're going to cross finger 3 over the thumb to get to the C sharp here. Of course, when you're performing this, crossing over is not going to be the most ideal way to play it because it will make it harder to play these staccato notes here. So, much like the first situation, you're going to want to do a quick shift. Now, the staccato technique does help you shift to the different position once you got that down, much like the first phrase, you can pretty much play most of this with very little movements right to the end of that system. The next thing that we're going to look at is this whole phrase here for your left hand. We're going to have a finger 3 over here. We'll reach finger 1 over here on the F sharp, finger 4 here, and now here we have an E. We're going to want to put a finger 1 on that, and then end with a finger 5 here. Now you could use a finger 2 on that E, but it's not going to feel very natural in the hand. So to help you with this phrase here, it's a good idea to kind of prepare your thumb for that movement. Another tricky spot that we're going to want to look at here is this E here in brackets. Now, the reason why it's like that is in case you can't reach that, that's kind of an optional note, but if you can reach this interval here of a seventh, then you certainly should play it to give it a nice, richer harmony. Of course, it's still going to be a little tricky to play in context, so looking at this whole phrase within this box, it's a good idea to kind of prepare your thumb for that low E there. Now, we'll be starting your finger 1 on this note here. Keep in mind that we'll need to stretch it down to this E in brackets later on. With enough practice, this will feel more natural. If you have small hands and you can't reach it, then don't worry about it. You don't have to play the notes. It won't sound as full, but it'll still get the point across. One other thing to take a look at over here in the left hand is this big interval here. We actually have a full octave. Now there's two ways we can approach it. We can either do a quick shift, kind of leap down the full octave here. Alternatively, if you can reach the full stretch, you can kind of play it without really doing much of a leap. Now when you get to the next system, it's almost exactly the same as the first system. Now let's get into the harmonic analysis. Alright, so the first thing we'll talk about here is the key signature. Now we have 3 sharps. We have an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. So that gives us 2 possibilities. We're either in the key of A major or F sharp minor. To figure that out, we kind of want to look at a few hints that we can find along the piece here. What is our first chord? Well, our first chord here, if we gather the notes up, we have an A, a C sharp, and an E. Now that is the tonic triad of A major. So we're already starting from an A major chord here. So it's already a big indication. If you take a look at your ending here, we also have an A, a C sharp, no E, but the C sharp already gives it away that this is a major tonic triad. The G would just give it a little bit more depth. So we start on the tonic and we end on the tonic. This is very much likely going to be A major, but we don't know for sure yet. So let's look for some other hints. Now, if we were to take a look at this in the minor form, some hints that we can look for are the harmonic seventh. The harmonic seventh in F sharp minor is an E sharp. Now, looking through the whole piece, the only accidental we can find here is this A sharp. Well, it's not an E sharp, so that rules that out. There are a few other things that we can look for too, but for the most part, we can already kind of tell that this is A major. All right, so let's get into identifying all the chords here. In this first miniature phrase here, we've already gathered the notes. we have the tonic triad here. You have A, C sharp, and E here. Looking at the next chord, once again, this is actually still the tonic triad. A, C sharp, and E. Moving forward. Okay, so now we're looking at something different. We've got a B, we've got a D, and an F sharp. This over here is the 2 chord, the supertonic of A major. Over here, if we collect all the notes, we'll have an E, we'll have a G sharp, and we'll have a D. Okay, so this here is what we'd expect to be the 5 chord, or the dominant. Now this D here is an extra note to give it that bigger harmony and that stronger tension. So we actually have a dominant 7th chord. Now you might be asking, where is that B? Well, that is the 5th, and the 5th is a chord degree that doesn't give really too much detail as to what kind of chord it is. It still has the overall sound of a dominant 7th. Now a dominant 7th will want to resolve back to the tonic, and if we look at the next chord here, lo and behold, we do have the tonic chord, A, C sharp, and E. So there we have it. We have an authentic cadence right there. Looking into the next part, we have another tonic chord here. Once again, we have A, C sharp, and E. It's kind of a variation on that tonic chord there. And this time, unlike the first system, we're not starting on that 1 chord there, we're actually moving to a different one here. And what chord is that? We got F sharp, A, C sharp. This here is actually your submediant chord, which is the 6th degree. If we look further ahead, here we have B, D, and we're missing the F sharp here. But as we know, the F sharp is the 5th in this chord, so it doesn't really give too much contribution to this chord's overall sound. So we are still dealing with the supertonic 2 chord. Looking to the next chord, if all goes well, we should have a dominant. And if we gather the notes, we have E, G sharp, and once again, no B, but B is the 5th, so it's not too important. So yes, we certainly have another dominant. Note 7th though, still we do have an authentic cadence here, 5-1. That covers the A section of this piece here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the B section here. Now we can tell that we were looking here at binary form because these first 2 systems ended by this repeat sign here has 1 main material here. The next section after the repeat has some contrasting ideas, but we do end the last system there with a return to the A section. So more specifically, this is rounded binary. Okay, so back to analyzing these chords. Let's break this part here down. So this portion over here is your tonic chord right here, gathering all the notes, A, C sharp, and E. And this next chord here, if you gather the notes, we have E, no G sharp, B, and D. So the question is this really a dominant 7th chord? We're missing one of the important notes, the 3rd, but the 7th is an important note that kind of tells us what this chord is. So we can kind of deduce that we have a dominant 7th, but we might be able to get more of these details if we look further ahead. This whole section here is actually the complete dominant 7th here. We have E, which is from this bracketed notes, the G sharp, the B, and the D. Here we have it, dominant 7th. So looking at this, these 2 boxes here can kind of go together, which completes that missing G sharp that we were looking for in that first box. Alright, so a dominant does like to return to the tonic, and here we have it, the tonic right there, A, C sharp, and E. Alright, so that completes the contrasting idea here in the B section. When we take a look at bar 13, this is actually a return to the A section here. Once again, it's exactly the same material as everything you saw from bar 1 to 4. So that completes this basic harmonic analysis. Hope you found it helpful. That's it for today, guys. I hope you found this video helpful for your practice. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you guys around.